There comes a moment in the life of almost every Libra when something familiar stops working. Not dramatically at first, not loudly. It's quieter than that. It's the moment when keeping the peace no longer brings peace. When smiling through discomfort starts to feel heavier than conflict. When relationships that once felt beautiful begin to feel expensive. If you are a Libra, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that subtle tightening in your chest when you realize you're trying harder than the other person. That hesitation before you speak because you already know how the conversation might upset the balance. That strange guilt you feel for wanting something more, something fairer, something clearer. And often, without you realizing it, that moment arrives when Saturn enters your story. Saturn doesn't announce itself. It doesn't crash into your life with chaos or drama. Saturn arrives through time, through repetition, through patterns that no longer shift, through the slow realization that what you've been tolerating has quietly become your reality. Saturn is not the planet of cruelty. It is the planet of consequence. And Libra, more than almost any other sign, feels those consequences through relationships. Because Libra is wired to connect. From the very beginning, Libra understands something most people learn much later. That life is lived between people. That love, partnership, cooperation, and fairness are not luxuries, but necessities. Libra feels imbalanced like a nerve exposed. When someone is uncomfortable, Libra notices. When a room grows tense, Libra senses it. When a relationship tilts even slightly, Libra instinctively reaches out to steady it. And so Libra becomes the mediator, the peacemaker, the one who listens longer, waits more patiently, explains more gently. At first, this looks like emotional intelligence. It looks like grace. It looks like maturity. But Saturn sees deeper. Saturn watches how often Libra compromises without being asked. How often Libra chooses harmony over honesty. How often Libra says it's fine when it isn't. And Saturn asks a question that Libra would rather not answer. Is this balance real? Or are you holding the scale down with your own hands? When Saturn's influence begins to touch Libra's life, things start to slow down. Decisions take longer. Relationships feel heavier. What once felt easy begins to demand accountability. Libra may feel confused at first. Nothing is wrong on the surface. No one has done anything terrible. And yet something feels off. This is often when Libras feel lonely in ways they can't explain. Not lonely because they lack people, but lonely because they are unseen. They give. They adjust. They remain understanding. And Saturn quietly reveals a painful truth. Some relationships exist only because Libra has been doing all the balancing. Saturn does not immediately take these relationships away. That would be too easy. Instead, Saturn weighs them. Libra begins to notice how tired they feel after certain conversations. How they rehearse their words before speaking, afraid of disrupting the peace. How they absorb responsibility for problems that are not entirely theirs. This is the first emotional descent. The realization that peace maintained through self-erasure is not peace at all. And for Libra, this realization hurts deeply because it challenges their identity. If I am not the one who keeps things smooth, who am I? If I stop adjusting, will anyone stay? If I ask for fairness, will love disappear? Saturn does not answer these questions immediately. Saturn lets them echo. Time passes. Situations repeat. And slowly, Saturn brings Libra to a crossroads they can no longer avoid. It may come through a relationship that demands a decision. A partnership that cannot continue as it is. A moment where silence becomes heavier than speaking the truth. This is where Saturn's real lesson begins. Because Saturn does not punish Libra for loving too much. Saturn challenges Libra to love responsibly. To understand that fairness is not something you beg for. It is something you require. Libra's deepest karmic lessons are tied to this understanding. Many Libras carry old patterns around love and partnership that feel almost faded. They may find themselves repeatedly in relationships where they give more than they receive, where they become the emotional anchor, the moral compass, the stabilizing force. Saturn asks why, not in a judgmental way, but in a precise one. What belief keeps you here? What fear stops you from choosing differently? What do you think you owe others that you refuse to owe yourself? For some Libras, this fear is abandonment. For others, it is guilt. For many, it is the idea that choosing themselves is somehow unfair. Saturn dismantles this belief slowly, painfully, but thoroughly. Under Saturn's influence, Indecision becomes uncomfortable. Libra, who once avoided choosing in order to keep all options open, begins to realize that not choosing is its own form of imbalance. People move on. Situations solidify. Time refuses to pause. And Saturn delivers one of its hardest truths. You are responsible not only for what you do, but for what you allow. This is often a low point. Libra may feel overwhelmed, pressured, misunderstood. They may feel as though life has become serious too quickly, as though joy has been replaced by obligation. But something important is happening beneath the surface. Saturn is teaching Libra how to build relationships that can survive reality. Not fantasy, not hope, reality. Here is where many people misunderstand Saturn's role with Libra. They think Saturn brings loneliness. But Saturn does not remove connection. Saturn removes imbalance. When Libra resists Saturn's lessons, relationships feel heavy, cold, restrictive. When Libra accepts them, something extraordinary emerges. Because Saturn is exalted in Libra, this means that Saturn, the planet of structure and justice, operates at its highest expression here. Why? Because Libra understands fairness, and Saturn enforces it. When Libra integrates Saturn's energy, they stop negotiating their worth. They learn to say no without apology, to state needs without guilt, to walk away without resentment. They become calm in ways that cannot be shaken. Their presence carries weight. Relationships that remain become stronger, clearer, more respectful. Those that fall away do so cleanly. And Libra begins to experience a new kind of balance, one that does not depend on constant adjustment. This transformation does not happen overnight. It often peaks during Saturn return, when Libra is asked to redefine love, partnership, and self-respect. This period feels intense because it is irreversible. Libra cannot return to unconscious compromise after this point. They see too clearly. They understand too much. And once they step into this awareness, something shifts permanently. They stop chasing harmony. They become harmony. They no longer fear conflict, because they trust themselves to survive it. They no longer cling to relationships out of obligation, because they know their worth is not determined by being chosen. Saturn gives Libra something few signs ever fully achieve: emotional authority, the ability to stand in relationship without disappearing, to love deeply without surrendering dignity, to create partnerships that are not just romantic, but fair. And in the end, this is Saturn's true gift to Libra. Not loss, not loneliness, but strength. The strength to build a life where balance is no longer borrowed from others, but generated from within. And when Libra reaches that place, something remarkable happens. They stop asking if love will stay, because they know that whatever remains will be real. And that is the kind of balance that lasts.